All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're cracking open a book that made some of the most, well, audacious claims of the 20th century. Our source material for this whole explainer is L. Ron Hubbard's 1950 bestseller, Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health.
And, right out of the gate, the book sets an unbelievably high bar. I mean, think about that. It's not just some new theory. It's being compared to the discovery of fire. So what in the world is this problem that Dianetics claims to have solved once and for all? Let's break down the big ideas.
Okay, so first things first, what's the foundational claim? Dianetics doesn't just present itself as a science of the mind. It says it's the definitive science, all built on one single, incredibly powerful discovery.
And there it is. That's the core premise. The book says, flat out, that it has found the one hidden source for literally everything from neuroses and psychoses to physical stuff like allergies and even arthritis. And because it found the source, it claims to have an invariable cure. A big, big claim.
So if there's a single source for all our problems, where is it? Well, according to Dianetics, the answer isn't somewhere out in the world. It's inside us. It's a fundamental conflict between two very, very different parts of our own mind.
So the book says we basically have two minds. On one side, you've got the analytical mind. This thing is described as a perfect computer. It's conscious, it's aware, and it supposedly cannot make a mistake. But then there's the other one, the reactive mind. This is way more primitive, just a stimulus response machine. And here's the kicker. It only records when we're unconscious, from pain and injury, anesthesia, that kind of thing. So one is a perfect calculator, the other is a hidden recorder of pure pain.
And this analogy from the book just perfectly illustrates the problem. Your analytical mind, that perfect computer, is trying its best to solve the problems of your life. But what happens if the reactive mind is secretly feeding it bad data? Like a key on the calculator that's jammed and is always pressing 7? Well, you're going to get crazy, irrational answers. The machine itself isn't broken. It's just being fed garbage information.
So this garbage information, this stuck key, is basically the villain of the whole story. And Dianetics gives this bad data a very specific name and explains exactly how it messes up our otherwise perfect mind.
And here it is. This is probably the most important concept in the whole book, the Enneagram. The idea is, when you get hurt and you're knocked out or semi-conscious, your analytical mind shuts down. But your reactive mind, it starts recording everything. Sights, sounds, smells, words people are saying around you. And it records it all right alongside the physical pain. This recording is the Enneagram, and it acts like a hidden subconscious command just waiting to be triggered.
So here's the life cycle of an engram, step by step. 1. You get hurt. 2. The reactive mind makes a full recording of that moment, the engram. 3. Later on in life, maybe years later, something in your environment, a sound, a smell, just happens to be similar to something in that painful recording. This is what's called a re-stimulator. And bam, step 4. That trigger reactivates the engram. It can then actually take command of your body, causing you to act irrationally or even feel physical pain, and you have no idea why.
Now this is where it gets really strange. The reactive mind is described as being kinda, dumb. It operates on what's called identity thinking. It doesn't know the difference between things. As this quote says, everything inside that painful recording is treated as being equal to everything else.
So, for example, the book gives the scenario of a woman being knocked out and kicked while a car is passing and a faucet is running nearby. In that engram, the pain of the kick becomes identical to the sound of the car, which is identical to the running faucet, which is identical to any words that were spoken at that exact moment. So now, in the future, just hearing a running faucet could be enough to reactivate the physical pain of that kick. It's wild.
Okay, so if the problem is this reactive mind and its collection of engrams, what's the solution? Well, Dianetics lays out a whole therapeutic process. It's designed to track these things down and neutralize them, with a very specific end goal in mind. The entire goal of Dianetic therapy is to find these hidden engrams, have the person consciously re-experience them, and by doing that, basically move the file. You're taking it out of the dangerous reactive mind and refiling it as just a normal memory in the analytical mind's memory banks. The book literally calls this deleting all the pain from a lifetime. What's left is just the memory without any of its power to hurt you.
So the person who administers this therapy isn't called a therapist. They're called an auditor. And that name comes from the Latin word audire, which just means to listen.
The auditor's job isn't to analyze you or give you advice. Their whole role is to skillfully guide you. You're called to pre-clear, back to those exact moments when the engrams were recorded so you can face them head on.
And what happens when this whole process is done? What happens when every single one of a person's engrams has been found and refiled? While Dianetics claims it unlocks a brand new, totally optimal state of being. This is the ultimate prize.
And this state is called clear. The definition is pretty straightforward. A clear is someone who is, well, cleared of all their engrams. And because of that, they're free from all their psychosomatic illnesses and irrational behaviors. Period. So what does it actually mean to be clear? Well, according to the book, it means you're operating at 100% of your potential. And we're not just talking about feeling better here. We're talking about gaining what sound like superpowers. The claims are just extraordinary. Your intelligence and memory become perfect. All psychosomatic problems, we're talking even the common cold, just vanish. You become a fundamentally more powerful, creative, and good person.
And just to put the sheer scale of this transformation into perspective, the book gives us this really striking comparison. It claims that the difference between a normal person and a clear is as huge as the difference between a normal person and someone who is severely insane. It's not just an improvement, it's presented as a quantum leap forward for humanity.
And that pretty much brings us to the end of this explainer. The central idea of Dianetics is that all our pain, our rationality, it all stems from these very specific, recorded moments in time that can be found and neutralized. Which kind of leaves us with one final big question. If you could actually do that, if you could erase the painful charge from your worst memories, what would be left? Who would you become?